Hello all, welcome to Paritranaya IAS Academy. So today we shall have a discussion about preamble. So we know that preamble is a very important part of the constitution and questions do appear on preamble very frequently in prelims and mains also. In many of the answers the preamble can be quoted in order to make our answers effective. So let us look into the history of preamble. So where did the preamble begin? So here American Constitution is the first to begin with the preamble. Okay, American Constitution was the first to begin with the preamble. Next, what does preamble refers? It refers to the introduction or preface to the Constitution. So when we say introduction, it gives an overall picture of the Constitution. So here in our preamble as well, it gives an overall picture of our Constitution. Okay, we shall see further. Next, N.A. Palkiwala, he called it as identity card of the Constitution. Identity card of the Constitution. So sometimes question in prelims might appear. They may quote saying that who called the preamble as identity card of the Constitution. They may mention few names. So this name is important. Okay, this name is important. In a Palkiwala, a question might appear. Okay, a question might appear. Next, is based on objectives resolution. Is based on objectives resolution drafted and moved by Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, adopted by Constituent Assembly. So later on we shall see that objectives resolution. So a resolution was moved in the Constituent Assembly and it was moved by Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru. So based on this objective resolution, our preamble has been framed. Okay, our preamble has been framed. Next. So this is our preamble. So when it comes to preamble, absolute memorization is required, because nowadays the evolving nature of the question paper, it expects us to understand the preamble, but also at the same time we need to know what all things are present in the preamble exactly. So preamble has to be understood and also at the same time it has to be memorized. Even in the night dream also, if someone wakes you up and asks you the preamble, you should be able to recall it. Okay, so now suppose now I will do it. So I will close my eyes. We the people of India, having solemnly resolved to constitute India into a sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic republic, and to secure to all its citizens justice, social, economic and political, liberty of thought, expression, belief, faith and worship, equality of status and of opportunity, and to promote among them all fraternity, assuring the dignity of the individual and unity and integrity of the nation. On this day, November 26, 1949, we do hereby adopt, enact and give to ourselves this constitution. Okay. So here closing my eyes and recalling is, it's not to impress you, but this is the nature in which way you are supposed to prepare the preamble. Later on when we look into the questions, you will get to know that preamble has to be memorized. There are certain things which have to be memorized. Okay, preamble has to be memorized and certain parts of fundamental rights have to be memorized. It means for fundamental rights we need to also know the article number corresponding to the rights. Also, we need to memorize the article numbers pertaining to directive principles of state policy. Okay, for directive principles of state policy, for fundamental rights, okay, we have to memorize the articles, and when it comes to preamble, we have to memorize it. Okay, later on in our subsequent classes, we will also discuss about the articles which have to be memorized and the articles which are not important from the exam point of view, and just understanding would be sufficient, and where recalling of the exact article number would not be necessary. So all those things we will be discussing in the subsequent videos, okay, subsequent classes. So here this is our preamble. Now we shall go deeper into it. So whether preamble has ever been amended. So what is amendment? Any change that we bring to our constitution, we call it as amendment. Okay, so preamble has been amendment. So it has been amended by 42nd constitutional amendment. So we know our constitution has been amended for more than 100 times, but among whether all the amendments are important, Not all the amendments are important. There are few amendments which are important. For example, it may be 42nd amendment or 44th amendment, 73rd amendment, 74th amendment, and the recent amendments. For example, 99th amendment, 100th amendment, 101, 102, 103, 104, 105. Okay, only hardly around 8 to 10 amendments are important. And apart from this, if any of the amendments repeatedly appears in the newspaper, okay, as part of other news, then such an amendment will become important. Otherwise, we need not know about all the amendments from 1 to 105. We should only focus on the important amendments. So this we need to know. Otherwise, without understanding this demand, if we start preparing each and every amendment, then probably it will become very difficult for us to memorize, and will not be able to crack the examination. So here we need to understand the demand of the examination. So the demand of the examination says that we should only memorize the important amendments, and the other articles we have to other amendments we have to ignore it. Okay, we have to ignore it. Now, ingredients of the preamble. So what are the major ingredients? It reveals 4 ingredients or components. So source of authority. So who is the source of authority for our constitution? It says that it's the people of India. We the people of India. Okay, source of authority is ultimate authority is people of India. So what is nature of Indian state? It declares India as a sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic and republic authority. So in the further part of the video, we will be seeing about what is sovereign, what is socialist, what is secular, what is democratic and what is republic. So we will be discussing about all these things. But what is the nature of Indian state? In nature of the Indian state is sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic, republic. Now next, objectives of the constitution. It specifies justice. What kind of justice it specifies about the various kinds of justice. So we shall see later. Next, it specifies about liberty. It specifies about equality. It specifies about fraternity. So we will see later what kind of justice, what kind of liberty, what kind of equality and what kind of fraternity. Next, it mentions about the date of adoption. So when did we adopt? We adopted the constitution on November 26, 1949. But generally we say that India became republic on January 26, 1950. So some part of the or some provisions of the constitution came into force on November 26, 1950 itself. But all the other parts of the constitution, it came on force on January 26, 1950. That's why we celebrate January 26 as a Republic Day. Okay, Republic Day. Now we'll go into these terms. What exactly is meant by sovereign? Okay, sovereign means what? India is neither a dependency or dominion of any other nation but an independent state. So when we say independent state, means India will take independent decisions. It is not dependent on others. It is not at the mercy of others. India will not behave according to the what? Dictatorship of other countries. Okay, so that indicates sovereign. Sovereign. Next, no authority above it. Sovereign also means no authority above it. So free to conduct its own affairs, both internal and external. So when it comes to internal affairs means how to manage law and order. An example. Next, external means with which nations, what kind of relationship should we build? Whether we should build a good relationship with USA or we should build a good relationship with Russia. So all these decisions will be taken by India independently, without anyone's or without the interference of any external power. Does not constitute a limitation on her sovereignty. So whatever the following things are there, they does not impose a what limitation. For example, India's declaration of continuation of her full membership of the Commonwealth and accepted the British Crown as the head of the Commonwealth. So in 1949, there was a, what is this Commonwealth? Commonwealth is nothing but it's a group of nations. Group of nations. So in modern days, as we have group of nations like SAARC, Asian. So the group of nations, right? Similarly, we have group of nations. So which we call them as Commonwealth nations. So who will be the head of this Commonwealth? British. Okay, British. So in 1949, India continued to be part of the Commonwealth, but that does not indicate that our sovereignty has been compromised. So India being a member of Commonwealth does not indicate that our sovereignty has been compromised. Okay, compromised. Next, India's membership of the United Nations organization. Now presently India is a member of UN. Not even India, totally around 193 countries are members of UN. So all the developed countries as well as developing countries are members of UN. Example of a developed country might be USA. Okay, next European countries like UK, France, China. So all the countries are members of UN. So being a member of UN does not mean that we have compromised with our sovereignty. Okay, so these two aspects, they should not act as a limitation on our sovereignty, or it should not be presumed or interpreted as a limitation on the sovereignty of India. Next, as a sovereign state, India can either acquire a foreign territory or cede a part of its territory in favor of foreign state. So what does it indicate? So India can either acquire a foreign territory. Okay, so India can acquire a foreign territory means we can capture the territory of territory which belongs to some other country. So generally India is not it's always a peace-loving country, it will not do it. But if the circumstances demand, then definitely India can acquire foreign territory. Okay, foreign territory as a sovereign nation, as a sovereign country, or cede a part of it. So India is a sovereign country, can cede a part means we can give a part of our country to some other country. Okay, so it is not by force, but sometimes the circumstances demand. So we already ceded a part of our territory with Bangladesh, okay, as part of the agreement, many agreements, and the recent agreement took place in 2015. So in order to overcome the misunderstanding between India and Bangladesh in 2015, what? We gave some territory of India to Bangladesh, and Bangladesh gave some of its territory to India. But it was a mutual exchange. So when we cede a territory, when we give a territory, we can do it as a sovereign state. So we have that power as well. Okay, we have that power as well. So this is the meaning of what? Sovereign. Next, socialist. So Congress party adopted a resolution to establish a socialistic pattern of society in its Awadi session in 1955. So this is important. So in which session Congress party adopted a resolution to establish a socialist pattern? So such kind of question might be asked. So it was in 1955, the session was held in Awadh. Okay. Next, Indian brand of socialism is democratic socialism. Democratic socialism and not communistic socialism. So this type of question can be asked. So what kind of socialism has India adopted, whether it's a democratic socialism or communistic socialism? So India has adopted democratic socialism. So let us not go into the deeper aspects now. Okay, to some extent the superficial we shall understand. So what is communistic socialism? Also state socialism involves the nationalization of all means of production and distribution and the abolition of private property. Okay, so communistic socialism says that everything has to be owned by government. For example, you are using a pen. Okay, this pen has to be manufactured by a government company. Okay, you are wearing some dress, so this dress has to be manufactured by some government company. You are consuming some food, so this food has to be produced and distributed by a government company. So completely government. So that is called as communistic socialism. Communistic socialism. But here in India, what we have adopted? We have adopted democratic socialism. So what does democratic socialism do? It holds faith in a mixed economy. So what is a mixed economy? When I say mixed economy, it means both private as well as public. Mixed means both private plus public. It means in a country, we can have both private companies as well as public companies. For example, a pen can be manufactured by both a private company as well as a government company. Okay, government company, where both public and private sectors coexist side by side. Okay, so India is the best example. So we have Jio, which is privately owned. We have BSNL, which is government owned. So both of them, they coexist. Okay, they coexist. Supreme Court says that it aims to end poverty, ignorance, disease, and inequality of opportunity. Okay. So Supreme Court in one of its judgment, it says that democratic socialism will help to end poverty, okay, ignorance, disease, and inequality of opportunity. So such kind of statements can be quoted in mains. Such kind of statements can be quoted in mains. How to quote? We shall see subsequently when we start discussion about the mains. But in prelims, such kind of questions will not be asked. Okay, will not be asked. Next. Indian socialism is a blend of Marxism and Gandhism, leaning heavily towards Gandhian socialism. Okay, so So it's a blend of Marxism and Gandhism. Okay, so Marxism also Marx also supports socialism. Gandhi also supports socialism, but their views on socialism are different. So what kind of system has India adopted? It's a mix. It's a blend of both Marxism as well as Gandhism. Let us not go deeper into the what is exactly is Marxism, what is Gandhism. So such kind of questions rarely do appear in the examination. So in the later part of our classes, we shall see. Okay, we shall see. But leaning heavily towards Gandhian socialism. So our socialism, it leans too much towards the Gandhian socialism, or it has adopted many ideas of Gandhian socialism and very few ideas of socialism as promoted by Marx. Next, the new economic policy 1991 of the LPG. What is LPG? Liberalization, privatization and globalization. However, diluted the socialistic credentials of the Indian state. Okay, so socialistic credentials of the Indian state means before 1991 there were too many socialistic characteristics of the Indian society, but now they have been reduced because of the 1991 policy, that is LPG, liberalization, privatization, globalization. So what is LPG and all detailed we will be looking when we start discussing about the economics topic. Okay, economics topic. Okay, next, secular. So very important, Indian constitution embodies the positive concept of secularism. That is, all religions in our country, irrespective of their strength, have the same status and support from the state. Very important. Same status and support from the state. So here we need to understand the meaning of these terms. So what do we understand by state here? Are we referring to some states like Karnataka, Kerala, Maharashtra? No. Here when we say state, we are referring to Indian government. Or we may also refer to state government. We may also refer to what? Municipality, any of them. Okay, so everything comes under the definition of state. So Indian constitution, positive concept of secularism. So in some other countries, there is a negative concept of secularism. For example, state is free from religion. If you look into some other country, so state means government will not interfere in the religious matters. But here in India, government will interfere in the religious matters. But how it interferes? It maintains equal distance with all the religions. So we see in our day-to-day life. So government supports the building of temples, and also at the same time it helps the Muslims to for pilgrimage when they are going to Makkah and Medina. Okay, so in this fashion it extends supports to different faiths. Okay, different faiths. So it maintains equidistance from all the faiths. Okay, so this is a positive concept of secularism. So such kind of questions do appear in both prelims as well as mains. Okay, mains very important. Next, democratic. So what do we understand by democratic? So from childhood days we have been hearing by the people, for the people and to the people, all those things. So democratic polity means based on the doctrine of popular sovereignty. What is popular sovereignty? Popular means people. Okay, so based on doctrine of popular sovereignty means whatever the people of this country wish, so in that fashion everything should run. Okay, that is democratic polity. Okay, so possession of supreme power by the people. So obviously the supreme power lies in the people. Later on we will see, because all the laws of this country are made by whom? By Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha members. Who are the Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha members? They are the representatives of people. So as 130 crore people cannot sit and discuss at a particular place, so what we have done on behalf of us, we have sent our representatives. So our representatives make laws for us. So it means we are making laws for ourselves. So who is the superpower here? The people of this country. So popular sovereignty. Okay, so the possession of supreme power by the people. Okay, by the people. Next, when it comes to democracy in general, so democracy are of two types: direct and indirect democracy. So in direct democracy, what happens? People exercise supreme power directly. Example, Switzerland. Okay, so they have quoted the example of Switzerland. So in Switzerland, what happens? Whenever you are taking any decision, so all the people of the country will participate. Okay, so as Switzerland is a small country, so there it is possible. But for a vast or diverse country like India with a population of close to 130 crore, it will be difficult. So what kind of democracy we have? We have indirect. Okay, indirect. So in case of direct, its devices are referendum. Okay, initiative, recall, plebiscite. Okay, so referendum, plebiscite, all of them, what they mean? Whenever they want to make a decision on any issue, so all of them, they'll come together and they will vote. Okay, they will vote. So when it comes to indirect election, when it comes to indirect election, representatives elected by the people exercise supreme power, as it happens in India. Okay, so we elect Lok Sabha members and we elect MLAs. Similarly, MLAs elect Rajya Sabha members. So either directly or indirectly, elected members representing the people. So what they'll be making laws, okay, on behalf of the people of India. So representatives elected by the people exercise the supreme power. So carry on government and make laws. So how government is carried on, how the laws are made. So already we have seen in a topic called as parliament. Okay, parliament. So also called representative democracy. Okay, representative democracy. So indirect democracy is also called as representative democracy, because rather than the people directly involving, so the representatives of the people are involved here. Okay, so they are of two types. Indirect democracies are of two types: parliamentary democracy, presidential democracy. So in India, what kind of democracy we have? We have parliamentary democracy. Okay, presidential democracy, where we have in USA. Okay, we have in USA. So Indian Constitution, representative parliamentary democracy. It provides for representative parliamentary democracy. Okay, so what is representative parliamentary democracy? Executive is responsible to the legislature for all its policies and actions. Okay, of all its policies and actions. So who is executive here? Council of Ministers. Okay, who is legislative here? At the central level. So let us confine our discussion to the central level. Okay, to the central level. The same applies to states as well. So when we say legislature, it is Lok Sabha or even Rajya Sabha as well. So Lok Sabha plus Rajya Sabha in general and Lok Sabha in particular. So when Council of Ministers, they do anything, they are responsible to Lok Sabha. It means if the Council of Ministers, if they commit any mistake, then Lok Sabha can remove them. Okay, remove them. So this is a parliamentary democracy where executive is responsible to the legislature for all its policies and actions. If the executive commits mistake, so when I say executive, it is Council of Ministers headed by Prime Minister. If they commit any kind of mistake, then Lok Sabha can remove the executive. Okay. Next, universal adult franchise, periodic elections, rule of law, independence of judiciary, and absence of discrimination on certain grounds are the manifestations of the democratic character of the Indian polity. Okay, so the things which represent the democratic character of the Indian polity are universal adult franchise. So what is universal adult franchise? All the people above the 18 years of age can vote in the election, irrespective of their religion, irrespective of their caste, irrespective of their gender, irrespective of their language. Okay, so suppose we say that he is a Hindu only, he should vote. He is a Muslim only, he should not vote. He is a Christian, he should vote. Okay, he is a Parsi, he should not vote. Such kind of discrimination does not exist. Only male should vote, female should not vote. So okay, such kind of discrimination do not exist. So that's why we have universal adult franchise. Everyone who has crossed the age of 18 is eligible to vote. Okay, there are certain exceptions, for example criminals and all, that is a different thing, we shall see later on. Okay, periodic elections. So in this parliamentary democracy, periodic elections. So normally elections do take place for every 5 years. Okay, there are also chances that in between also elections might take place, but generally they take periodically after every 5 years. Next, what is the important feature? Rule of law. Okay, so in India, whatever we are doing, everything is governed by a law. For example, if we take marriage, so marriage is governed by law. So what the law says? So men should be of age of 18 and men should be have crossed 21. So this is the law related to marriage. If at all you want to start a company, then you have to register your companies under the Companies Act. So everything has a law. So rule of law. Next, independence of judiciary. So what is independence of judiciary? How it is ensured? We'll understand when we start discussing about a topic called as judiciary. When we start discussing about Supreme Court, when we start discussing about High Court, we'll get a clear picture. Okay, we'll get a clear picture. Next, absence of certain grounds. Absence of discrimination on certain grounds. So when we start discussing about fundamental rights, we'll get to know the absence of discrimination on certain grounds. So all these indicate the democratic character of the Indian polity. Next is used in the preamble in the broader sense, embracing not only political democracy but also social and economic democracy. So when we say democracy in our preamble, it not only speaks about political democracy but also speaks about social democracy and economic democracy. So what exactly is the difference between political democracy, social democracy and economic democracy? We shall see in the forthcoming videos. Okay, forthcoming videos. Next, we have another term, republic. In our preamble, we have a term called as republic. So whenever there is a democratic polity, in India also we have democratic system. So there are two types. One is monarchy, the other one is republic. So what kind of system do India has? Republic, not monarchy. So what is monarchy? The head of the state, usually king or queen, hereditary. Okay, example in Britain. So in Britain, what happens? In Britain, there will be king. In India, we have president. Okay, president. So if the king dies, who will become the next monarch? Who will be the head of the state next? King's son or daughter. Okay, daughter. It's a hereditary position. So for example in UK, but in India, president will serve for 5 years. So he is the head of the state. After 5 years, whether president's son will become president? No. Okay, some other person who will get elected as president will become president. So it is not a hereditary position. Not a hereditary position. Okay, hereditary position. So in case of republic, head of state elected directly or indirectly for fixed term. Okay, for fixed term. Example, USA. Okay, USA and India, both of them, they are examples of republic. Okay, both of them, they are examples of republic, but there's a difference. In USA, the head of the state president is directly elected, whereas in case of India, the head of the state president is indirectly elected. The term indicates that India has an elected head called president for 5 years. Okay, in India, president is elected. Okay, elected. Who elects the president? Whether the people of this country participate in the election of the president. Okay, so these are the basic things which we need to know. So once we start discussing about the topic called as president, we'll look into it. Okay, so the president of India is not directly elected by the people, but he is elected by the elected representatives of the people. So MPs and MLAs will participate in the election of the president. So how exactly the election do take place, we shall have a discussion, or we shall understand when we start discussing about the topic called as president. Okay, president. Next. So republic, apart from the previous meaning, so previously we saw that republic means that the head of the state is elected. Apart from that, it has also another meaning, other two meanings. Okay, what is that meaning? Vesting of political sovereignty in the people and not individual like a king. So political sovereignty, okay, political decisions, so it is vesting in whom? In people and not individual like king. So how is it so? Because here, how the political sovereignty is in people? Because the president is elected by the elected representatives. So who has elected the representatives? The people of this India. It means president is indirectly a representative of the people of India. So whatever the decisions he is taking on behalf of the people of India. So hence, vesting of political sovereignty, it lies with the people. But in case of UK, as it is a hereditary position, it is in an individual. Okay, it is on an individual. Okay. So this is one meaning. Next, absence of any privileged class. So the word republic also means absence of any privileged class. It means all public offices being opened to every citizen without any discrimination. So what is it, all public offices? So all public offices, it has a deeper meaning. Some examples I will take. So one is president, it's a public office. Okay. Next, prime minister, it's a public office. Next, judge of Supreme Court, it's a public office. Next, I'll take election commissioner. So all these are public offices. So when we are appointing some person, for example, when we are appointing a person as a judge of the Supreme Court, when we are appointing a person as an election commissioner, okay, so we do not do we will not subject them to any kind of discrimination. For example, if a person belonging to a particular caste I'll say I'll not elect him or I'll not appoint him. No, I cannot say it, because if you do that, then it will be discrimination. So Indian Constitution, it does not provide for any such kind of discrimination, and all the offices are open to everyone. Okay, person belonging to any religion can join this public office. Person belonging to any caste can join this. Person belonging to any gender can hold these public offices. Okay, so there are three different meanings of republic. The first meaning is president is, okay, president is not a hereditary position, he is elected. Okay, elected. Next, second one is vesting of political sovereignty in the people of India. Third, absence of any privileged class. Okay, absence of any privileged class. Next, justice. So when we say justice, we have already seen. So justice, social, economic and political. Our preamble speaks about three different types of justice: social, economic and political. Okay. So what is social justice? What is economical justice? We shall see later on. So how are they secured? They are secured through various provisions of DPSP and fundamental rights. So secured means, how are we going to give social justice to our people? How are we going to give economic justice to our people? How are we going to give political justice to our people? So all these things are being given to our people with the help of some of the provisions of DPSP, which we will be discussing in the forthcoming classes. Similarly, all these things will be extended to the people of India through some of the fundamental rights, which we will be discussing in the forthcoming classes. Okay, forthcoming classes. So here, first is social justice. Social justice. So what does social justice say? Equal treatment of all citizens without any social distinction. Equal treatment of all citizens. Equal treatment of all citizens without any social distinction based on caste, color, race, religion, sex, and so on. Okay. So for example, so this social justice is ensured through few fundamental rights. So fundamental rights topic we will be discussing later on. So equal citizens of all equal treatment of all citizens. I'll just give an example. Now suppose I want to go for a government recruitment. Okay. Okay. Now let us consider the example of IAS exam itself. I want to recruit. So when I am recruiting, I'll not make a discrimination that only people belonging to a particular religion, only Hindu should apply. Okay. Only Muslims should apply. So if I make such kind of notification, then it will be what? It will be kind of discrimination. But in India, there is no such discrimination based on caste, based on color, based on race, based on religion, based on sex, and so on. Okay. So this is an example of social justice, and this social justice is ensured through fundamental rights. So fundamental rights we will be discussing later on. Next, social justice also means absence of privileges being extended to any particular section of the society. So privileges means special provisions. Okay. So our constitution does not mention about extending the special provision to any particular section of the society. Okay, a particular caste or particular religion, so some special favors and all such kind of things are not present. Next, improvement in the conditions of scheduled caste, scheduled tribe, and OBCs and women. Okay, so whenever we make an effort to improve the conditions of scheduled caste, to improve the condition of scheduled tribe, to improve the condition of other backward classes, and to improve the condition of women, so all these, they come under the example of what? Social justice. Okay, social justice. And there are provisions in the constitution which we will be discussing when we start discussing about what? Fundamental rights. Okay, so ensuring all these things, they are part of social justice. Next, economic justice. Non-discrimination between people on the basis of economic factors. Okay. Now, once upon a time, before independence, so there were some discrimination based on economic factors. For example, now before our independence also, there used to be some elections. But when it comes to voting and all, not all were given the voting rights. So some were given voting rights based on their property. So that is an example of what? Economic discrimination. But now, today, irrespective of your economic factors, whether you are poor or rich, you can participate in the election, you can vote in the election. This is just one example to indicate that we have ensured economic justice. Okay, economic justice. Next, involves the elimination of glaring inequalities in wealth, income, and property. So economic justice means what we'll do? inequalities with respect to wealth, inequalities with respect to income, and inequalities with respect to property. Okay, property. So let us consider one example. Now, in order to what eliminate inequalities in income, so government will bring some scheme. So we'll discuss about the schemes and all later on. But one beautiful example which repeatedly appears in the newspaper is Manarega, Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Act. So what does it do? It provides a minimum number of days of employment for what households of rural areas. Okay, we'll discuss in detail about this scheme in the forthcoming classes. But what does this scheme ensure? This scheme tries to what eliminate the inequality with respect to income. Inequality with respect to income. Similarly, there are some schemes which helps us to reduce the inequality with respect to wealth, okay, and property. So our constitution, what it does, it upholds economic justice. Okay, it upholds economic justice through some of the directive principles of state policy and also some of the fundamental rights, which we shall see later on. Okay, later on. Next, what is distributive justice? Social justice plus economic justice together, we call it as distributive justice. Okay, so very important. So sometimes a question might get framed in the examination. So what is distributive justice? So what all it consists of? It consists of social justice, it consists of economic justice. Okay, it does not involve political justice. So what is political justice? All citizens should have equal political rights. Equal political rights in the sense, it means all the people of this country should have the equal rights when it comes to participate in the elections. So suppose if there is a MP election going on, okay, so everyone should be free to contest in an MP election. So nobody should be restricted. So when it comes to voting, everyone should have equal rights of voting. So all these come under equal political rights. So in India, we have equal political rights. Equal access to all political offices. So when we say political offices, so example is Prime Minister post is a political office. Next, Chief Minister post is a political office. So in India, all the citizens, all the people, irrespective of their caste, religion, gender, so they have equal access to political offices. So anyone can become PM, anyone can become CM, irrespective of their what race, religion, caste and all. Okay. Next, equal voice in government. Okay, equal voice in government. So almost all of them they say means same. Now let us assume equal voice in government means there are, let us assume 545 MPs. Okay, MPs. So if there is no representative of scheduled caste, if there is no representative of scheduled tribe, then their voice cannot be heard in the parliament or in Lok Sabha. So in order to ensure that their voice is heard in the Lok Sabha, there are certain seats which are reserved for scheduled caste and scheduled tribe. So this what it ensures? It ensures that every community has an equal voice in the government. Okay, equal voice in the government. Similarly, when we say government, it also comes to ministers as well. So how they ensure that the equal voice is there in the government and all, we shall see in the subsequent classes. Okay, subsequent classes. Next, very important. So questions might be framed. For example, idea of justice, social, economic and political. From which constitution has India borrowed these concepts? So such kind of question might appear in the prelims. So this concept was borrowed from where? From Russian Revolution. Okay, Russian Revolution. So this year 1917 is not important, but the idea of justice, social, economic and political has been taken from the Russian constitution. Very important from prelims point of view. Next, ideals of liberty, equality and fraternity. So they have been taken from which constitution? Or they have been borrowed from French Revolution. Okay, French Revolution. Next, liberty. So what is liberty? Liberty means absence of restraints on the activities of individuals. Okay, it means when an individual is involved in certain kind of activity, there should be no restrictions. An example, as an individual I want to speak something, there should be no restriction on it. As an individual I want to write a book, there should be no restriction on it. As an individual I want to sing a song, there should be no restriction on it. So all these are examples of liberty. So means absence of restraints on the activities of individuals. So an individual should be free. Okay, an individual should be free to express himself. But whether it should be absolute, can I speak anything? Okay, suppose the words which I utter, if it hurts the emotion of some other person, or if the words which I utter, if it leads to communal violence, should such kind of words be allowed to should a person should be given such kind of freedom to utter any kind of words? No. So that's why when we say liberty, it is not absolute. So again, in detail or in depth, we'll be discussing when we start discussing about fundamental rights. Okay. So liberty at the same time providing opportunities for the development of an individual personalities. So liberty also means providing opportunities for the development of individual personalities. So when there is a lack of opportunity, okay, lack of opportunity, then an individual's potential cannot be fully realized. So if an individual's potential has to be realized, then he has to be given with full opportunities. So liberty is the other meaning is that providing opportunities for the development of individual personalities. So Indian government has brought many such schemes which help for the development of individual personalities. For example, now Indian government has a scheme called as midday meal scheme. Okay, midday meal scheme. So midday meal scheme might not be directly related to liberty, but when there is a midday meal scheme, what happens? Individual's personality will it will have an influence on individual's personality, and it will also provide opportunity, equal opportunity. How? Because if only rich person is getting access to nutritious food, so his mental growth will be good. But if a poor person, if he does not have a proper access to nutritious food, then it may have a negative impact on his health, which may have a negative impact on his overall personality development. But such kind of schemes, what they do, they provide opportunities for the development of individual personalities. So somewhere directly or indirectly, it is linked to liberty. Okay, liberty. Next, preamble secures to all citizens liberty of thought, as I mentioned. So expression, belief, faith, and worship. Okay, through fundamental rights. So whatever is mentioned in the preamble, that is liberty of thought, expression, belief, faith, and worship. So belief, faith, and worship is what? So which religion you want to follow, in which God you want to believe. So it is left to you. So that freedom is left to you. So how it is ensured? It is ensured through fundamental rights. So we will be discussing in detail about all these issues when we start discussing about fundamental rights. Okay, fundamental rights. Next, very important. So this liberty is not absolute but qualified. As I mentioned, if a liberty is given to you, and if you start writing if you start speaking anything that comes to your mind, then that may hurt the emotions of other people. It may lead to communal violence. Okay, if you write any kind of article in a newspaper, so that may lead to communal violence. So that's why it is not absolute, it is qualified. Okay, there are certain limitations on the liberty. So what are the limitations on the liberty? That we will discuss when we start discussing about fundamental rights. So there in the fundamental rights, we will see that all these liberties, they have to be enjoyed within the limitations. Okay, so in the fundamental rights topic, we will see that when it comes to liberty, it is not absolute, but there are certain restrictions. So what are those restrictions? We'll see once we start discussing about what? Fundamental rights. Fundamental rights. Okay, next, equality. Now some of the terms might appear similar for you. Now equality means absence of special privileges to any section of society. So provision of adequate opportunities for all without any discrimination. Equality of status and of opportunity embraces three dimensions of equality. So civic, political, and economic. So equality, it speaks about three different types of equality: civic equality, political equality, and economic equality. So the following fundamental rights ensure civic equality. Article number 14. So in detail we will be discussing about article number 14 when we start discussing about fundamental rights. But at a superficial level, article 14, it speaks about equality before law. Okay. Similarly, article number 15, it speaks about prohibition of discrimination on grounds of race, religion, caste, sex, or place of birth. Next, article number 16 speaks about equality of opportunity in the matters of public employment. Article number 17, it speaks about abolition of untouchability. So in the prelims, questions might be framed. So what kind of questions can be framed? So which of the following articles ensure civic equality? Okay, they may give you article number 14, they may give you article number 15, article number 28, one only, two only, both one and two, neither one nor two. Such kind of questions can be framed. So these are important. So article number 14, 15, 16, 17, what they ensure? They ensure civic equality. Okay, they ensure civic equality. Also article number 18, abolition of titles, which we shall discuss when we start discussing about fundamental rights. Next, provisions to seek political equality. So how to seek political equality? Article number 375, no exclusion to electoral rolls on grounds of religion, race, caste, or sex. So there should be no, what is electoral roll here? Electoral roll is a list of people who have been registered as eligible voters. Eligible voters means who all can vote. So that is called as electoral roll. So no one should be what denied admission into this electoral roll with respect because of their religion, race, caste or sex. It means irrespective of their religion, irrespective of their race, irrespective of their caste or sex, everyone should get equal access to that electoral rolls. So once you become part of the electoral rolls, you can either vote in the election and you can even participate or you can even contest for an election. Okay. So article number 325 ensures what? Political equality. Political equality. Next, article number 326. Lok Sabha and Legislative Assembly elections on adult franchise. Okay. All the people who have, all the citizens of India who have crossed 18 age can vote in an election. So article number 325 and 326, they seek to promote what? Political equality. Political equality. Provisions to seek economic equality. Okay. So DPSP, article number 39. So in detail we will be discussing when we start discussing about directive principles of state policy. So secures to men and women equal right to an adequate means of livelihood. So adequate means of livelihood means for his livelihood, to run his day-to-day life, he should have adequate means. Adequate means he should have a good job, good source of income. So he should not resort to some unwanted illegal activities like robbery and all, robbery, theft, etc. Okay. Equal pay for equal work. Okay. So now men and women, when they work, so for let us assume a man works for 8 hours, a woman also works for 8 hours. A man is being, if he is being paid 200 rupees, woman should also be paid 200 rupees. If a man is being paid 200 rupees and a woman is being paid 100 rupees, then it's a discrimination. It's a discrimination. So article number 39 says that there should be no such kind of discrimination. When a man and a woman, they work for equal time, then they should be given equal salary. Okay, equal salary. So article number 39, what it ensures? It seeks to promote economic equality. Economic equality. Next, fraternity means a sense of brotherhood. Promotes this through system of single citizenship. Single citizenship. So we all are one. We say that we all are one. But how are we one? It is because of the single citizenship. If we go to USA, there are two different types of citizenship. One is national citizenship, state citizenship. So in India, we never ask whether you are a citizen of India, you are a citizen of which particular state, whether you are a citizen of Karnataka or Maharashtra or Punjab. No, there is no such kind of provision. There is only one provision, that is single citizenship. You are a citizen of India. You are a citizen of India. So in this fashion, what a unity will be built among us because we are all Indian citizens. Next, fundamental duty, article number 51A. It speaks about what? To promote harmony and spirit of common brotherhood. So fundamental duty speaks that, it says that we should promote harmony. There should always be peace. So how that peace can be maintained? By common brotherhood. So Hindu, Muslim, Sikhs, okay, Parsis, all of them, they are one. Okay, with such kind of feeling, what we can promote? We can promote harmony and spirit of common brotherhood. Next, fraternity. It should assure two things: dignity of the individual, unity and integrity of the nation. Okay. So when we speak about fraternity, so while upholding the fraternity, so one's dignity should not be hurted. An individual's dignity should not be hurted. At the same time, it should promote what? Unity and integrity of the nation. For example, now in order to promote the integrity of the unity and integrity of the nation, let us assume we are celebrating a festival. We are celebrating a festival. A person belonging to other faith is not interested in our festival. But we, in order to promote the brotherhood, if we force him and involve him in our festival, then it will be what? It will be like his dignity will be affected. So that's why when we are promoting this brotherhood, we need to ensure that the dignity of the individual is maintained and also at the same time, unity and integrity of the nation is upheld. Okay, upheld. So dignity of the individual. Constitution not only ensures material betterment and maintain democratic setup, but also recognizes that the personality of every individual is sacred. Okay. So Constitution, so when it comes to dignity of individual, material betterment. Okay. So material betterment in the sense, so people should get what? Access to the materials which are required for the life. Okay. So Constitution mentions about the provisions wherein the government should make sufficient we should bring sufficient schemes and policies for the betterment of everyone with respect to material betterment. Next, also recognize that personality of every individual is sacred. Our constitution says that personality of every individual is sacred. So generally we have this opinion, I have a different personality and I expect the others to have a similar kind of personality like me, but it is not possible. Okay, I am different, you are different. So even during our freedom time, we had different ideologies. Some of them were extremists, some of them were moderate, some of them were revolutionaries, but everyone has his own individual personality, and here our constitution recognizes that every personality is sacred. Okay, is sacred. Okay. So next, when we look into the fundamental rights and DPSPs, we'll come to know how every individual's personality is sacred. Next, fundamental duty 51A protects the dignity of women. Okay, so renounce practices derogatory of women to uphold and protect the sovereignty, unity, and integrity of India. So fundamental duty, it mentions about protect the dignity of women. How to renounce practices derogatory to dignity of a woman. Now, there are some practices which have been eliminated. For example, sati system, dowry system. Okay, so child marriage. So all these they are derogatory to dignity of women. So such practices should be banned. Such practices should be stopped. Okay. Next, to protect to uphold and protect the sovereignty, unity, and integrity of the nation. So what is our fundamental duty? We should strive to uphold the sovereignty, unity, and integrity of India. Okay, integrity of India. We should never do any activities which harm our sovereignty, which harm our unity, which harm our integrity. Okay, integrity. Next, how unity and integrity of the nation is established or maintained. So our constitution, it embraces both psychological and territorial dimensions of national integration. So when we say national integration, it is not only about the psychological thing, it is also about the territorial, physical thing. Okay, physical thing. So Article 1 says that India is a union of states. India is a union of states. No right to secede from union. Okay, indestructible nature of union. So what does it mean? So again in detail we'll be discussing about this in a topic called as union and its territories, but at a superficial level. So in India, a state cannot say that I will form a separate country. So now supposedly Karnataka will demand that I want to come out of India and I want to form a separate state called as Karnataka, a separate country called as Karnataka. No, that is not possible. So no right to secede means no one can say that I want to come out of the union and form a separate country. Okay, that provision is not available. So that's why we call it indestructible. Okay, our union of states is indestructible. Okay, is indestructible. Next, aims at overcoming hindrances to national integration like communalism, regionalism, casteism, lingism, secessionism, and so on. Okay, so this one, what it ensures? It ensures territorial integrity. So this one, it ensures psychological integration. So it means we need to overcome some problems like communalism. Means my religion is great and my religion is great. So this kind of war that will be going on, that should not be there. So these are the hindrances to national integration. Regionalism, I'll say Karnataka is superior. Tamil Nadu person will say Tamil Nadu is superior. Punjabian will say Punjab is superior. So such kind of feelings should not arise. Okay. So because if such kind of feelings arise, then they become hindrances. Okay. They'll become hindrances to national integration. Okay. Integration. Next. Significance of the preamble. So what is significance of the preamble? Members of the Constituent Assembly speaking about its importance. Okay, so here I have taken the points only important from the exam point of view. So here Sir Alladi Krishnaswamy Iyer, K.M. Munshi and Pandit Thakurdas Bhargav. So they have spoken about the importance of the preamble. So they have spoken about the importance of the preamble. Others speaking about its importance. So there are other people also who have spoken about the importance of preamble. So Sir Ernest Barker and M. Hidayatullah. Okay. So sometimes a question on this very rarely it appears. Okay, very rarely it appears. But from here, what we come to know is who are the members of Constituent Assembly. So from these points we'll get to know that Sir Alladi Krishnaswamy Iyer, K.M. Munshi and Pandit Thakurdas Bhargava, they were the members of Constituent Assembly. So we have seen that in the recent prelims and all, questions do appear that who among the following were the members of Constituent Assembly. In order to address such kind of questions, so this information would help us. Okay, would help us. Next question is whether preamble is part of the Constitution. Okay, so there was a confusion whether we should consider preamble as part of the constitution or not. So in first case, so in Beruberi Union case, okay, Beruberi Union, so this case had gone to Supreme Court. So Supreme Court opined that preamble is not part of the constitution. So in this case, Supreme Court said that preamble is not part of the constitution. But next, the same Supreme Court in Keshwanand Bharti case, okay, it said different. Supreme Court held that it is part of the constitution. Okay, it is part of the constitution. Later on, when we start discussing about the judiciary, about the Supreme Court, we'll see that how the previous judgments can be overruled. In this case also, Supreme Court has given the judgment. Here also, Supreme Court has given the judgment. So which judgment we have to consider, whether the first judgment or second judgment? So now we'll consider the second judgment. Okay, why? Because more number of judges were present in this bench. So what is bench and what is the judgment? All these things we shall have a discussion when we start discussing about the Supreme Court and High Court. Okay, High Court. Next, in LIC of India. In LIC of India case 1995, Supreme Court again held it as integral part of the constitution. So whatever in the Keshwanand Bharti case, Supreme Court had said that preamble is an integral part, again it upheld that preamble is an integral part of the constitution. Next, two things have to be noted. What is that? It is neither a source of power to the legislature nor a prohibition upon the powers of legislature. Very important. Okay, means government cannot make any laws by saying that we are implementing the provisions of the preamble. So preamble does not act as a source of power to the legislature. At the same time, government cannot say that I will not do it because there is a restriction in the preamble. So preamble does not act as a restriction for the actions of the government or the legislature. Okay, very important. Next, it is non-justiciable. Okay, non-justiciable. Provisions non-enforceable in the courts of law. So there are certain provisions in the constitution which are enforceable and others which are non-enforceable. For example, if you look at fundamental rights, they are enforceable. If you look at DPSP, they are non-enforceable. What is non-enforceable? So when a fundamental right is violated, you can go to court, either to Supreme Court or High Court. Okay, but when the DPSPs are not being implemented properly, you cannot go to the court. So that's why they are non-enforceable, they are enforceable. Similarly, this preamble is non-justiciable. It means you cannot go to the court saying that the provisions of the preamble have not been implemented by the government. So it is what? Non-justiciable. Non-justiciable. Next, amendability of the amendability of the So can we amend the preamble? So we know that constitution can be amended. So how we can amend, what kind of majority is required, and all those things we'll see in a topic called as constitutional amendment. But here the basic question is, can we amend the preamble? So this case also came to Supreme Court, in which case in Keshwanand Bharti case 1960, sorry, there is a small mistake here. It is not 1970, it should be 1973. Okay, 73. Supreme Court held that it is amendable under article number 368. So it means preamble can be amended like the other provisions of the constitution, provided it does not alter the basic structure. So Keshwanand Bharti case is a very important case because through this case we came across a concept called as basic structure. So what is this basic structure and what does it mean that it should not alter the basic structure and all these things we'll get to know once we start discussing about the fundamental rights. It means preamble can be altered, it can be amended, it can be changed as long as it does not alter the basic structure. So what is this basic structure? Whether the basic structure has been mentioned in the constitution? No. Then from where did this basic structure concept come? This basic structure concept arrived through Keshwanand Bharti case. So about all these various things we'll be discussing in the subsequent videos when we start discussing about the other topics. Okay. Next. So preamble was amended in 1976 through 42nd amendment. So as we saw at the start of this topic, through 42nd amendment, 3 words were added, which are the social, secular and integrity. Okay, social, secular and integrity. So this was about the preamble. Okay, this was about the preamble. So whatever the discussions that we have made, so this discussion on preamble would be sufficient from both prelims as well as mains point of view. Okay, mains point of view. So These notes have been made from Lakshmikant itself, but as a fresher, as an individual, as a beginner, when we start reading Lakshmikant, it really confuses us as to what is important and what is not important, what should be skipped and what has to be focused on. So here, based on the demand of the examination, this has been prepared. So this would be more than sufficient for UPSC Civil Services examination. So in the subsequent topics or subsequent classes, in the subsequent videos, we will be discussing about many more such different topics. So for all the further updates, so please subscribe to our channel. Thank you.